Hey guys, tonight we slip quietly backward in time, easing ourselves into a winter that doesn't forgive mistakes, doesn't offer grocery stores, and doesn't care how confident you feel right now. You probably won't survive this. You let that thought rest for a moment, not as fear, but as curiosity. You feel it settle into your chest like cold air, sharp and honest. And just like that, it's the year 38,000 BCE, and you wake up before dawn inside a shallow rock shelter, your breath already visible, pale clouds blooming in the darkness. You lie still, very still. The stone beneath you is unforgiving, even through layers of fur and rough-woven plant fibers. You notice how carefully everything is arranged around your body, as if survival itself has learned the importance of comfort. Animal hides overlap like scales. Dry grass crackles softly when you shift. Somewhere nearby, embers glow, dull orange, breathing warmth into the space with a faint popping sound. You smell smoke, first, old smoke, embedded in stone and hair and skin. It mixes with the earthy scent of dried herbs tucked into small bundles near your head. Lavender isn't called lavender yet. Rosemary has no name. But your body already understands their purpose. Calm, warmth, sleep. Outside, wind moves through bare trees, rattling branches like bones knocking together. You hear it whistle through cracks in the rock, testing the shelter, looking for weakness. Winter is not fully here yet, but it's close enough that every sound feels heavier. You pull a fur tighter around your shoulders. It's greasy in places, stiff from smoke, but deeply warm. You notice the weight of it, how it presses you gently into the ground. That pressure is comforting, protective. You imagine adjusting each layer carefully, the way generations before you have learned to do by instinct. Nearby, an animal stirs. A dog or something not quite a dog yet lifts its head, exhales, then curls closer to the fire. Its warmth reaches you in small waves. This is not companionship in the modern sense. This is shared survival. Shared heat, shared breath. Your stomach tightens, not dramatically, not painfully, just enough to remind you that winter is coming and hunger is already practicing. You notice how different this hunger feels from the one you know. There's no panic yet, no craving for flavor. It's quieter, smarter. It asks only one question. Will this keep you alive? You sit up slowly. The movement sends a ripple of cold air across your neck, and you instinctively hunch your shoulders. Notice that micro-action, the way your body protects heat without being told. Cavemen don't know survival tactics. They are survival tactics. The fire pit sits slightly below where you sleep, intentionally placed so warm air pools upward. Hot stones ring it, dark and smooth from years of use. Some still radiate heat. You reach out. Go ahead. Reach with me and place your palm just above one. Warmth gathers there. Gentle. Steady. You breathe in and feel it spread through your fingers. This is already a clue. Fire matters. Shelter matters. But food is the difference between waking up tomorrow or not. You glance toward the back of the shelter. Shadows stretch long along the walls, flickering as the fire shifts. Hanging from wooden pegs are strips of something dark and stiff. Meat, dried almost to leather. Nearby, cracked bones sit in a neat pile. Saved, not discarded. Nothing here is decoration. Everything earns its place. You hear footsteps outside now. Soft. Familiar. Someone returns from checking traps laid days ago. Traps you placed before the ground froze solid. Planning ahead isn't a luxury here. It's oxygen. The air smells different when the shelter opens briefly. Sharper. Colder. Snow is coming. You taste it in the back of your throat. Metallic and clean. You realize something unsettling and oddly fascinating. Cavemen don't think in terms of breakfast, lunch, dinner. Time is measured in energy, calories, fat, warmth, survival. You settle back down for a moment, letting your body absorb that truth. Notice how your breathing slows when you stop resisting it. Long breath in through your nose, slow breath out through your mouth. Somewhere, water drips rhythmically from melting frost, counting seconds you didn't know you were listening to. Before we go any deeper, before you get too comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. No pressure, just a quiet exchange, like sharing warmth by a fire. And if you feel like it, leave a comment telling me where you're listening from and what time it is for you. Night connects us more than we realize. Now, dim the lights. Imagine the fire lowering slightly, just enough that shadows soften. You tuck your hands into fur again. The dog sighs. Someone adds a handful of dried herbs to the embers, not for flavor, but for smoke. The scent changes subtly, sweeter, calmer. Your eyes feel heavier, but your mind stays alert, because tomorrow, when the light returns, you will eat not for pleasure, not for variety, but for survival. And what you eat will decide how warm you stay, how clearly you think, how long your body holds together against the cold. You notice how strange it feels to think of food this way. No labels, no diets, no guilt, just physics, biology, ancient knowledge written into muscle and bone. You run your tongue along your teeth and taste faint smoke, yesterday's meat lingering there. Your body remembers it. Your body wants more, not because it's delicious, but because it works. This winter will teach you that cavemen don't survive on berries and optimism. They survive on fat, marrow, roots dug from frozen earth, and patience measured in months. They survive by eating things modern instincts have forgotten. And you, lying here between stone and fur, are about to learn exactly how. For now, stay still. Notice the warmth pooling around your core. Feel the weight of the night pressing gently down. Tomorrow, we hunt calories. The light doesn't arrive all at once. It seeps in slowly, thin and gray, like breath fogging the entrance of the shelter. You wake before the sun clears the horizon, not because you want to, but because winter shortens forgiveness. You notice the way your body rises first, alert and quiet, before your thoughts catch up. Cold presses against your face. Not painfully yet, but insistently. The fire has burned down to ash and warm stones. You reach out automatically, brushing your fingertips against one. There's still heat there. Enough. You hold your hand close and let the warmth climb into your palm. Slow and deliberate. Your stomach reminds you again, a little stronger now. Not a demand, a calculation. You sit up, fur sliding from your shoulders with a soft whisper. Outside, the world looks stripped bare, Trees stand thin and skeletal, bark pale against frost. Snow hasn't fully claimed the ground, but it's close enough that everything crunches faintly when someone steps outside. This is the edge of autumn, the last honest chance. You step out into the cold air and inhale. It bites your nose, sharp and clean. You smell damp earth, old leaves, animal trails. No flowers, no sweetness, just raw information. Your ancestors don't read calendars. They read air. You notice how quiet the land feels. Birds are gone or silent. Insects are hidden. Even the wind seems cautious. This is the moment cavemen respect most, because mistakes made now echo for months. Foraging begins immediately. You move low and slow, eyes scanning ground and bark and shadow. Notice how your vision changes when you stop rushing. Patterns emerge, a disturbed patch of soil here, a snapped stem there. Maybe you marked this place earlier, a memory stored not in writing, but in muscle. You kneel. The ground is cold through your knees, even with layers. You brush aside leaves and uncover a tuber, thick and knotted. It doesn't look impressive. It doesn't smell inviting. But you recognize it the way hunger recognizes truth. You dig carefully, fingers stiffening as soil leaches warmth from your skin. Dirt presses under your nails. The smell is rich, almost sweet in its own way. Earthy, alive. You pull the root free and hold it up. Heavy, starchy. Survival. You imagine roasting it later on hot stones. Steam rising, warmth filling your mouth. Not delicious, but filling. Reliable. Nearby, someone cracks open a fallen log. The sound is sharp in the still air. Inside, pale grubs curl, slow and dormant. You feel a flicker of resistance. Modern reflex, but it fades quickly. Protein is protein. Fat is fat. Winter doesn't care what makes you squeamish. You place a few into a small pouch. They'll be roasted, dried, maybe ground later. Even insects understand preparation. As you move deeper into the trees, you notice nut caches. Some yours, some stolen. Squirrels don't respect ownership, and neither does hunger. You crack one open with a stone. The shell gives way, clean and satisfying. The nut inside is dense, oily. You chew slowly. Notice the way your body reacts almost immediately, energy whispering into your bloodstream. This is why cavemen love nuts. Not the taste, the math. Your breath clouds the air as you exhale. You hear footsteps nearby, soft and steady. Others are gathering too, each person focused, quiet. Talking wastes heat. Talking scares animals. Talking is a luxury. You find berries shriveled, dried on the vine. Not much sugar left, but enough to remind you of summer. You pluck them carefully. Fingers numb now. The smell is faint, ghost-like. You imagine drying them further near the fire, saving them for moments when morale dips. Sweetness isn't fuel, it's memory. A sudden sound makes you freeze. Branch snapping. You crouch instinctively, heart steady but alert. A deer passes between trees, lean and cautious. Too lean. Winter has already touched it too. You watch it disappear, filing the information away. Later. Maybe later. For now, the rule is simple. Don't burn more calories than you collect. You return to the shelter as the light strengthens. Smoke curls upward from the fire pit again. Someone has started a low flame, feeding it carefully. Firewood is stacked neatly, sorted by size. Efficiency is everywhere. You kneel and begin sorting what you've gathered. Roots here, nuts there, insects in a separate pile. Nothing mixes accidentally. Contamination means sickness. Sickness means death. Notice how calm this all feels, focused. There's no rush, only rhythm. A strip of dried meat is passed to you. Thin, tough. You tear into it with your teeth, jaw working slowly. The taste is smoky, intense. Fat coats your tongue. You close your eyes for a moment and feel the warmth spread. This is breakfast. This is luxury. Someone cracks bones into a pot made from hide and clay. Water is added. The pot is placed near not over the fire. Heat builds gradually. Marrow will melt into the liquid, turning scraps into soup. Every calorie counts twice when it's warm. Steam rises, carrying scent through the shelter. Fat, smoke, herbs. Your stomach relaxes slightly, reassured. You notice children nearby, watching everything, learning without lessons. Elders sit close to the fire, hands extended toward warmth, eyes sharp. Knowledge sits heavier than age here. As the soup simmers, you feel the cold retreat a little. Not gone, just negotiated with. You take another bite of meat and chew thoughtfully. Cavemen don't hoard food out of greed, they hoard out of respect. Respect for winter, respect for effort, respect for the thin line between enough and not enough. Outside, clouds thicken, light dulls. Snow will come soon, maybe tonight, maybe tomorrow. But you've done what you can. You lean back against the stone wall, feeling its chill through layers. You adjust your position slightly, creating a pocket of warmth. Notice how you angle your body toward the fire without thinking, how you tuck your feet beneath you. Microclimates aren't invented, they're discovered. As the soup is passed around, you wrap your hands around the vessel. The heat is intense at first. You wait, then sip. The liquid is thin but rich, savory, nourishing. It slides down your throat and settles in your belly like a promise. You breathe out slowly. This is how cavemen prepare for winter, not with abundance, but with attention. Every root dug, every nut saved, every bone boiled twice. And as the light fades again, you realize something comforting and unsettling at the same time. You're not hungry anymore. For now, that's enough. The night folds back over the land like a heavy fur, and you feel it before you see it. Darkness thickens. The fire grows brighter by contrast, its orange core pulsing slowly, like something alive and breathing with you. You sit close, knees drawn up, hands extended, letting warmth soak into joints that already feel older than they should. Tonight is about meat, not in the way you know it, not plates or portions or preference. Meat here is memory. Meat is stored effort. Meat is a conversation between yesterday and tomorrow. You notice how carefully it's handled. A haunch rests on a flat stone near the fire, partially thawed, its surface darkened by smoke and time. This animal was killed weeks ago, maybe longer, during a moment when the group had strength, daylight, and luck. That moment still feeds you now. You run your fingers along the surface, feeling how dry it is, how tough. Your fingertips pick up a faint, oily residue. Fat again. Always fat. Someone begins slicing. The blade is stone, chipped sharp by patience rather than technology. Each cut is deliberate, no hacking, no waste. You hear the soft rasp of stone against flesh, rhythmic and calming. The sound blends with the crackle of embers and the distant moan of wind outside. You inhale. The smell is deep, smoky, animal, not unpleasant grounding. Your body responds before your thoughts do. Saliva gathers. Heat blooms low in your belly. This meat isn't eaten quickly. You chew slowly, jaw working, muscles warming. It takes effort. That's intentional. Slow eating conserves heat. It stretches satisfaction. It teaches restraint. Cavemen don't snack. They commit. As you chew, someone splits a long bone with a clean strike. The crack echoes sharply, then fades. Inside, the marrow glistens, pale and rich. A small sound escapes your throat without permission recognition. This is treasure. The marrow is scooped carefully and dropped into the simmering pot. Fat blooms across the surface like golden light. You stir gently. Steam rises and wraps around your face, damp and warm. You close your eyes and breathe it in. Your eyelashes feel heavy with moisture. Notice the contrast. Outside frozen, sharp, hostile. Inside warm, slow, intentional. You sip again. The soup is thicker now, silkier. It coats your mouth, slides down your throat, and settles like a weighted blanket inside you. You feel your shoulders drop. Just a little. Enough. This is why cavemen survive winter. Not because they hunt constantly, not because they're fearless, but because they understand time. Meat carries time forward. Fat stretches days. Bones remember abundance long after muscle is gone. You glance around the shelter. Strips of meat hang higher now, closer to the smoke hole, where air circulates best. You smell the difference between fresh and old smoke, sharp versus sweet. Preservation isn't accidental. It's learned through loss. Someone adjusts a strip, rotating it slightly. Even drying matters. Even airflow matters. You imagine the countless winters it took to figure that out. The failures buried beneath the knowledge. You pull your fur tighter as a draft sneaks in. Cold fingers brush your neck. You hunch instinctively, tucking your chin. Notice that small movement. Your body is always negotiating with temperature, minute by minute. A dog lifts its head and gnaws on a scrap tossed its way. Teeth crunch softly. Nothing here goes unused. Even scraps become allies. The dog's warmth, its alertness, its hunger all shared. You realize meat isn't just food here, it's social glue. Who cuts it? Who eats first? Who gets marrow? These decisions aren't argued, they're understood. Elders get warmth because they carry memory. Children get fat because they carry future. Hunters eat, but not excessively. Strength is valuable, but balance keeps the group alive. You take another bite. It's tougher now as it cools. You chew longer. Your jaw aches slightly. You don't mind. Pain is information. It tells you you're alive. It tells you effort still exists. Outside, something howls. distant, curious, not a threat yet. The sound slides through the trees and presses briefly against the shelter walls. You feel your spine straighten, alert but calm. Fire flares slightly as someone adds a stick. Smoke thickens. You cough softly, then laugh under your breath. Smoke stings, but it also protects. It keeps insects away, preserves meat, sinks into fur and hair, making you smell less like prey. You lean back against the stone again. The surface is cold, but you've learned how to sit so only parts of you touch it. A shoulder blade, a hip, never your core. You shift slightly until warmth pools where you want it. Micro adjustments, constant, unconscious. Your thoughts slow. Meat digestion takes time. Energy spreads gradually, like dawn rather than lightning. You feel your fingers regain flexibility. Your toes tingle faintly inside layered hides. You wiggle them once, then stillness returns. Someone hums, low, almost nothing, a sound more felt than heard. Rhythm without words. It settles into the space like a second fire. You think about the animal whose body feeds you. There's no ceremony, no apology, but there is respect. Bones are saved. Hide is cured. Sinew becomes thread. Nothing is anonymous. Nothing is disposable. You realize something else, quietly. Cavemen don't eat meat because they love killing. They eat meat because winter eats everything else first. Plants vanish. Fruits become ghosts. Insects hide. Only stored flesh answers hunger consistently. Only fat burns long enough to keep thought clear when nights stretch endless and white. You sip the last of the soup. The vessel is empty now, but still warm. You hold it a moment longer, palms soaking up residual heat. Then you set it aside carefully. Nothing is dropped. Noise wastes energy too. The fire lowers again. Stones glow softly. Shadows stretch. The shelter settles into nighttime posture. You curl onto your bedding, arranging layers automatically. Hide, fur, dry grass. You notice how the smell of meat clings to you, faint and reassuring, predator and protected at once. As your eyes close, you feel full, not stuffed, not heavy, just fueled, prepared. Tomorrow will bring more cold, more calculation, more patience. But tonight, meat has done its job. It has carried you forward. You wake with a different kind of hunger. It's not sharp, not urgent. It's a low, steady pull, like a tide moving beneath still water. Your eyes open slowly, adjusting to the dim glow of embers that never quite go out. Night has thinned, but dawn hasn't arrived yet. This is the coldest hour, the time when the body burns fuel just to stay itself. And that fuel is fat. You feel it before you think it. A craving that isn't about taste or comfort, but efficiency. Your body wants something that burns long and slow, something that doesn't ask to be digested quickly. Protein builds, fat saves. You sit up and stretch carefully. Your joints feel stiff, but not painful. That's a good sign. The fur around your shoulders smells faintly of smoke and animal oil. It's not clean. It's protective. You rub your hands together and notice how the skin feels slightly slick. Residual fat from last night. Even that matters. Someone is already awake, crouched near the fire, stirring a pot that looks thin but purposeful. Inside, fat floats in pale circles across the surface. Marrow again. Rendered scraps. Bits shaved from hides during curing. Nothing wasted. You inhale and feel warmth gather behind your ribs. This is what winter teaches. Early fat is not excess. Fat is insulation. Fat is clarity. Fat is the reason your fingers still move when the wind screams outside. You take a seat near the fire, careful to position yourself where heat pools best. Notice how instinctively you angle your body, one side warming while the other stays cooler. Even temperature matters. Sweat steals heat. Sweat kills. A small ladle bone, hollowed, dips into the pot and passes to you. You sip. The texture is thick, coating your tongue. The taste is mild, almost neutral, but your body reacts immediately. You feel a subtle spreading warmth, deeper than before, slower. This is not energy that spikes and crashes. This is a coal, not a flame. You close your eyes for a moment and breathe. Steam brushes your face, dampening eyelashes. The sound of the fire fills the shelter, soft and steady. Outside, wind moves snow against stone with a faint scraping sound, like fingers searching for a crack. Fat quiets fear. You notice that now. Thoughts slow, muscles unclench. The world feels manageable again, even kind. There's science behind this ketones feeding your brain, insulating your nerves, but you don't need words for it. You feel it. Cavemen always have. Nearby, someone scrapes hardened fat from a hide stretched near the wall. The scraping sound is rhythmic, almost meditative. The shavings fall into a small container, pale and waxy. Later, they'll be added to food, smeared on skin, rubbed into cracks to block wind. Fat isn't just eaten, it's used. You reach out and touch one of the hot stones edging the fire. It's warm, not burning. You pull your hand back and rub it along your forearm, spreading heat. That same motion spreads fat when needed, sealing skin against cold air. You imagine the shine it leaves, faint and protective. Someone hands you a small piece of something solid. It looks unremarkable, off-white, dense, rendered fat, cooled. You bite carefully. It yields slowly, then melts. There's almost no flavor. That's the point. Flavor distracts. This is pure utility. You feel it settle in your stomach like a promise. Outside, the day finally arrives, pale and thin. Light reflects harshly off fresh snow. You squint, blinking slowly. Snow changes everything. Sound dulls. Smell sharpens. Movement costs more. This is when fat becomes king. You step outside briefly, just enough to feel the cold wrap around you. It's brutal now, biting through layers, testing weak spots. You pull your fur tighter and tuck your hands beneath it. Notice how your body curls inward, conserving heat. Fat under your skin helps, but posture finishes the job. Someone points toward tracks near the tree line. Rabbit. Thin. Probably not worth the chase today. Chasing burns fat faster than it replaces it. Winter teaches restraint brutally and quickly. You return to the shelter and sit again. The fire seems brighter now, or maybe your eyes have adjusted, or maybe fat has changed how you perceive discomfort. You think about modern ideas of nutrition-balanced plates, low-fat trends, and feel a quiet amusement. In this world, those ideas would be fatal. Cavemen don't fear fat. They fear running out of it. You watch as fat is portioned carefully, not equally, but fairly. A child receives more. An elder receives warmth. A hunter receives enough to function, not enough to hoard. There's no resentment. Everyone understands the math. You sip again, slower now. No rush. The dog stretches and resettles closer to the fire, pressing its side against your leg. You feel its warmth through layers. Animals seek fat too, in their own way, curling, conserving, resting. You scratch behind its ear absently, fingers leaving faint tracks in oily fur. The smell in the shelter is rich now. Smoke, fat, hide, herbs. It clings to everything. You realize this smell is safety. It marks the shelter as lived in, defended, successful. You lean back and close your eyes briefly. Your breathing slows. The fire pops softly. Somewhere. Water drips steadily. Counting seconds. Fat digestion takes time, and that time feels like calm. You understand now why winter meals are quiet, why there's no chatter, no excitement. Fat demands respect. It asks you to slow down, to let it work. You adjust your bedding slightly, pulling one corner closer, blocking a draft. Notice how even tiny changes make a difference. Cavemen survive on margins measured in degrees and grams. When you open your eyes again, light has strengthened slightly, not warmth, but visibility. Enough to plan, enough to wait. Fat has done its work. You feel steady, present, capable. Winter is still there, pressing, watching. But for now, it's held at bay by something ancient, simple, and deeply misunderstood. You breathe out slowly and let the warmth settle. The bones wait. They lie stacked neatly near the back of the shelter, pale arcs and thick cylinders arranged with quiet intention. Nothing random. Nothing discarded. You notice them now the way you notice a tool you've learned to trust. Bones aren't leftovers. Bones are delayed meals. You crouch beside them and run your fingers along their smooth surfaces, cold at first, then familiar. These bones have already given once meat stripped, fat rendered, but they are not finished. Winter demands repetition. Winter rewards patience. Someone selects a long femur and places it carefully on a flat stone. Another stone rises and falls with practiced precision. Crack, clean. The sound echoes softly, then fades into the shelter's constant hush. Inside, the bone reveals its secret again, marrow. Darker now. Thicker. Richer. You feel a flicker of anticipation, not excitement. Recognition. The marrow is scraped out and dropped into a pot already warmed by the fire's edge. Water follows. Snow, melted carefully so it doesn't cool the stones too quickly. Heat is managed like a resource because it is one. You stir slowly. Steam curls upward, carrying a scent that's subtler than meat, but deeper, earthy, mineral, nourishing in a way that feels almost medicinal. You inhale and feel your chest loosen. Bone broth is not comfort food, it is continuation. You listen as the pot begins to whisper, tiny bubbles forming, breaking, releasing warmth. The sound blends, with embers popping and wind breathing against stone outside. It's a rhythm you could fall asleep to, if hunger weren't still quietly present. You take a seat near the fire, pulling your legs close, tucking your feet beneath layers. Notice how you instinctively minimize surface area exposed to air. Less skin, less heat lost. Even sitting is survival here. The broth simmers for a long time. No one rushes it. Rushing wastes fuel and flavor. Time does the work. Time and heat. As you wait, someone crushes smaller bones into fragments. These will go into calcium, minerals. Nothing wasted. You watch the fragments sink slowly, disappearing beneath the surface like secrets returning home. You think about how modern kitchens throw bones away without a second thought. You feel a strange tenderness toward these pieces now. Bones are honest. They don't pretend to be anything else. They give what they have if you're willing to wait. You dip a finger into the broth and touch it to your tongue. Careful. It's hot. The taste is subtle but unmistakable rich. Grounding. Deeply satisfying. Your body responds immediately, as if it recognizes the nutrients before your mind does. This is why bones matter in winter. Protein alone can starve you if fat is missing. Meat alone runs out. But bones stretch survival. They turn scarcity into something workable. They soften hunger into something patient. You wrap your hands around the pot when it's passed to you. The heat seeps into your palms, then up your arms. You sip slowly. The liquid coats your mouth, slides down your throat, and spreads warmth through your chest. It feels like being reinforced from the inside. Notice how different this warmth feels compared to fire heat. Fire warms skin. Broth warms bone. Outside, the wind rises, rattling something loose along the rock face. Snow slides with a muffled sigh. You glance toward the entrance, alert but calm. You're fed, you're warm, you're prepared. Someone adds herbs to the broth roots dried and crushed, leaves saved from summer. Not for taste alone. These help digestion, ease joints, promote sleep. Winter is hard on bodies. Herbs smooth the edges. You smell them immediately. Bitter, clean, almost sweet beneath the smoke. The scent shifts the shelter's mood. Calming, grounding. You breathe deeply and feel your eyelids grow heavier. The dog yawns and stretches, then settles again. Animals understand bone broth instinctively. They lick pots clean, tongues searching for every trace. Nothing wasted. You sip again and feel your stomach relax completely now. Hunger recedes, replaced by a quiet steadiness. Not fullness, readiness. You lean back against the stone wall, careful to keep your core away from the cold surface. You angle your shoulder instead, patting it with fur. Notice how automatically you do this now. Learning is happening without effort. The fire lowers slightly as fuel is conserved. Stones glow faintly, shadows lengthen and soften. The shelter feels smaller, cozier, like a pocket carved out of winter itself. You glance at the bone pile again. Fewer now, but not empty. Tomorrow, they'll give again and again. Bones can be boiled multiple times, each round extracting something new. Thinner broth, still valuable. You realize something quietly profound. Cavemen don't just survive winter by hunting harder. They survive by reusing, by respecting layers of nourishment, by understanding that survival is cumulative. You stretch your fingers, feeling warmth linger in your joints. Your breath slows. Your thoughts wander lazily now, no longer sharp-edged. Someone hums again, low and wordless. The sound vibrates gently through the space, like the fire's heartbeat. You close your eyes briefly and imagine warmth sinking into your bones the way broth does slow, deep, lasting. When you open your eyes, the light has shifted again. Snow reflects pale brightness through the entrance. Day is here, thin but usable. You feel steady, clear-headed, calm. Bones have done their work. They've reminded you that survival isn't always about adding more. Sometimes it's about returning to what's already there and asking it to give once more. You take one last sip and set the pot aside carefully, palms lingering on the warmth. Outside, winter waits. Inside, you're ready. Fire changes everything. You've known this since the first spark ever coaxed from stone. But winter makes the lesson sharper, more intimate. Without fire, food is just potential. With fire, it becomes usable, digestible, safe. Fire doesn't just warm you, it unlocks calories your body would otherwise spend precious energy trying to reach. You crouch near the hearth as someone feeds it carefully. Not too much, not too fast. Flames lick upward, then settle. You notice how controlled it is. Wildfire wastes fuel. Gentle fire stretches it. A slab of frozen meat rests nearby, stiff as wood. You touch it briefly and pull your hand back. Cold bites instantly. Eating this raw would burn more energy than it gives. Your ancestors learned that the hard way. So the meat is warmed first, not cooked, just softened, held near heat until it yields slightly under pressure. You feel it change beneath your fingers, fibers relaxing, fats loosening. Fire persuades food to cooperate. You listen to the quiet sounds of preparation, the scrape of stone on stone, the soft thud of meat being repositioned, the crackle of embers shifting. Everything happens close to the ground. Standing wastes heat. Someone skewers a strip of meat and holds it above the fire, turning it slowly. Fat drips and hisses as it hits hot stone. The smell rises immediately rich, savory, unmistakable. Your stomach tightens reflexively. Notice how your mouth waters even before hunger returns. Fire does that. It signals safety to your nervous system. Cooked food means fewer parasites, easier digestion, more net energy. Your body relaxes when it smells it. You lean closer, careful not to block heat flow. Smoke curls around your face, stinging your eyes slightly. You blink slowly, letting tears form and evaporate. Smoke isn't pleasant, but it's protective. It clings to hair and fur, masking scent, preserving food, discouraging insects that might wake you later. The meat darkens gradually, surface first, then deeper. You can see fat rendering, turning glossy, dripping. Someone catches those drips in a shallow stone depression placed deliberately beneath. Liquid fat is too valuable to lose. You watch it collect, pale and shimmering. Later, it will be added to broth, smeared on skin, mixed with crushed roots. Fire doesn't just cook meat, it separates components. It teaches you what's useful. You're handed a piece when it's ready. Not hot enough to burn, not cool enough to waste heat. Perfect. You tear into it slowly, fibers parting with resistance. The texture is different now, softer, more cooperative. You chew and feel how much easier it is. Less jaw strain, less work. This matters in winter. Every unnecessary movement costs heat. Every extra chew burns fuel. Fire makes food efficient. You swallow and feel warmth spread downward, chased by a familiar calm. Cooked meat digests faster. Energy becomes available sooner. You notice clarity returning to your thoughts, a quiet sharpening without tension. Nearby, roots you dug earlier are placed directly on hot stones. They sizzle softly, skins blistering. The smell is earthy, faintly sweet. Someone turns them with a stick, avoiding direct flame. Burnt food is wasted food. You imagine peeling one later, steam rising, hands warming as you hold it. Starch breaks down under heat, becoming easier to digest. Fire does chemistry long before anyone names it. You glance toward the back of the shelter, where thin strips of meat hang in constant smoke. This is fire working slowly. Cold smoke. Preservation rather than cooking. You smell the difference immediately lighter. Sweeter. More complex. Fire has moods. Fast fire cooks. Slow fire preserves. Low fire warms without stealing oxygen. You adjust your position slightly, noticing how the heat hits your left side more than your right. You rotate a bit. Even exposure matters. Sweat steals warmth. Dry heat protects it. Someone adds a hot stone to a shallow pit lined with hide. Water is poured carefully. Steam bursts upward, sudden and enveloping. The space warms briefly, like a breath held and released. You close your eyes and let it wash over you. This isn't luxury. It's maintenance. Warmth loosens muscles, prevents injury, keeps blood moving to extremities. Fire doesn't just feed you, it keeps you functional. The dog lifts its head, nostrils flaring. It edges closer, tail thumping once against stone. You toss it a small cooked scrap. It catches it mid-air and retreats, crunching contentedly. Animals understand cooked food too. Less effort, more reward. You think about how fire changes time. Raw food ties you to daylight. Cooked food extends usefulness into night. Preserved food bends seasons. Fire allows planning beyond tomorrow. That's why winter belongs to those who manage flame well. You notice someone tending the fire hole above, adjusting a stone to control airflow. Smoke thins slightly. Heat stabilizes. This isn't instinct alone, it's knowledge passed hand to hand. Winter to winter. You eat again, slower now. No rush. Fire has already done the heavy lifting. Outside, the wind shifts. Snow taps gently against rock. Inside, the shelter feels sealed, cocooned. Warmth pools low and steady. You breathe it in and feel it anchor you. Roots are done now. Someone cracks one open. Steam spills out, fragrant and comforting. You peel back the skin and take a bite. It's bland but satisfying. Texture softened. Sugars awakened. Fire has turned stubborn starch into quiet fuel. You chew thoughtfully, alternating bites of meat and root. Balance matters. Protein builds, fat fuels, carbohydrates spare fat. Cavemen don't know the words, but they live the truth. You stretch your hands toward the fire again, fingers splayed. Heat pulses gently. You imagine it sinking into joints, tendons, bone. Fire as nourishment without ingestion. As the meal winds down, the fire is lowered deliberately. Too much heat wastes fuel. Stones are rearranged to hold warmth longer. Ash is banked. Nothing is left to chance. You settle back onto your bedding, belly warm, muscles relaxed. The smell of cooked food lingers in the air, comforting and safe. Your eyelids grow heavy. Fire crackles softly. A low conversation you don't need to follow. You realize something simple and profound. Without fire, winter would win quickly. With fire, food becomes strategy. You pull your fur tighter, feeling heat still radiating from within and without. Your breathing slows. The shelter hums quietly around you. Tomorrow will bring more cold, more decisions, more careful tending. But tonight, fire has done its work, and you drift closer to sleep, fed, warmed, and held in its glow. The smoke never really leaves. It clings to the shelter walls, to fur and hair, to the spaces between stones. Even when the fire burns low, even when embers sleep, the scent remains soft, persistent, reassuring. You notice it most in the morning, when the air is cold and still, and your breath fogs gently in front of your face. Smoke is memory. You sit up slowly and listen. Outside, the world is muted under snow. Sound doesn't travel the same way now. It's swallowed, softened, made secretive. Inside, the shelter breathes quietly, embers shifting, someone stirring, the dog exhaling in a slow, content rhythm. Today isn't about eating immediately. Today is about not starving later. You move toward the hanging strips of meat, rising carefully so you don't disturb warm air pooling near the ground. Each strip is darkened, edges curled slightly, surfaces firm. You touch one gently. It's cool, dry, resilient, alive with effort from days ago. This is smoke doing its quiet work. You inhale near the strips and notice the difference between fresh smoke and old smoke. Fresh is sharp, biting. Old smoke is sweet, almost calming. It carries notes of wood, fat, time. Your body recognizes it as safety. Someone adjusts the smoking rack, lifting it a little higher, lowering another section. Airflow matters. Too much heat cooks the meat and spoils it. Too little smoke invites rot. This balance is delicate, learned through loss rather than theory. You watch carefully, storing the movements in your own muscles. This knowledge isn't written, it's felt. Outside, the wind shifts. You hear it change direction. Feel pressure move along the shelter's outer wall. Inside, someone blocks a small gap with a rolled hide. Smoke thickens slightly, then evens out. Preservation resumes. You sit near the smoking area and let the warmth seep into your back. Smoke curls around your face, stinging lightly. You blink slowly, letting your eyes adjust. There's a reason people sleep better near smoke. It sedates the nervous system, reduces pests, signals enclosure. A strip is taken down and examined closely. Fingers press gently along its length. It bends, but doesn't tear. That's right. Someone nods almost imperceptibly and rehung it. Not yet. Preservation requires patience. You think about how this food will taste weeks from now. Tougher, saltier, smokier. Not exciting, but reliable. Reliable is everything. A small fire is built specifically for smoking. Low, smothered. Wood chosen carefully, green branches, certain barks. The smell changes subtly. Some woods preserve better. Some repel insects. Some impart flavors that last. You smell pine, faint and resinous. Something else beneath it. Birch. Maybe. You don't name it. You just know it works. You help add fuel. Careful not to introduce flame. Smoke thickens, then steadies. The strips darken almost imperceptibly. You imagine time passing through them. Hours turning into weeks. This is food that doesn't demand daily effort. You step back and sit again, letting your hands warm near the embers. Smoke has a weight to it now, settling into your clothing. You rub your forearms and feel the faint residue left behind. That residue repels moisture, blocks wind, confuses predators. Smoke isn't just for food, it's for you too. Someone coughs softly, then laughs under their breath. Smoke isn't gentle, but it's loyal. You notice the dog has moved closer to the smoked meat, nose twitching. It's drawn to it instinctively. Preserved food lasts long enough to be guarded, shared, planned around. Animals understand long-term value too. You think about how winter stretches time. Days feel longer, nights feel endless. Smoked meat bridges that gap. It carries summer forward, condensed into dark strips that smell like fire and effort. You take down a fully cured piece now. It's lighter than fresh meat, denser. You bite into it carefully. Teeth work harder. Jaw muscles engage fully. The flavor is intense, smoke forward, salty, concentrated. Not something you'd eat quickly. You chew slowly and feel saliva gather, enzymes waking. This food demands attention. That's part of its function. It slows you down, makes you mindful, conserves energy. You swallow and feel the familiar warmth spread. Not as fast as cooked meat, not as slow as fat alone. A steady middle ground. Outside, snow begins to fall again. Soft, relentless. You hear it brush against the shelter roof like fingertips. Smoke rises to meet it, drifting into white air, marking your presence without revealing your exact shape. You glance at the entrance and feel a quiet confidence. Even if hunting fails tomorrow, even if weather traps you inside, even if daylight shrinks further, there is food. You help rehang the remaining strips, spacing them carefully. Air must move. Smoke must reach every surface. You adjust one strip slightly, ensuring it doesn't touch another. Contact invites moisture. Moisture invites decay. Every small detail matters now. You sit back and breathe deeply. The shelter smells strongly of smoke, meat, hide, herbs. It's a layered scent, complex and deeply human. You realize this smell is probably what home means here. You pull your fur tighter and notice how smoke has softened it over time, making it more pliable, more insulating. Preservation works on tools too. The fire is adjusted again, always adjusted, never abandoned. Smoke thins slightly as someone banks embers. The shelter settles into a quiet rhythm. You feel tired, but not drained. Preservation work is slow, methodical. It doesn't spike adrenaline. It builds security. You lie back briefly, eyes half closed, listening. Smoke hums faintly as it rises. Embers whisper. Snow hushes the outside world. You think about how cavemen don't fear winter as much as people imagine. They fear neglect, forgetting to smoke meat, forgetting to check airflow, forgetting that survival is built quietly, day by day. Smoke teaches that lesson better than words ever could. You open your eyes again and glance at the hanging meat one last time. Dark, dry, ready. Summer condensed into shadow. You exhale slowly and let the smoke settle around you, carrying nourishment forward through time. The ground looks dead now. Snow covers most of it, pressed flat and pale, reflecting light so harshly it makes your eyes narrow. But you know better. You've learned to distrust surfaces. Winter hides food the way water hides depth. What matters lives underneath. You step carefully, feeling for softer spots beneath your feet. The earth speaks if you know how to listen. A slight give, a different crunch. A place where snow melts faster because something warmer breathes below. Roots. You kneel and press your palm against the ground. Cold seeps through instantly, biting your skin. You don't linger. Fingers numb quickly now. Instead, you use a digging stick smooth, worn, trusted. You drive it down with controlled pressure, rocking gently rather than stabbing. Stabbing wastes energy and breaks food. The soil resists at first, stiff with frost. You work patiently, loosening it bit by bit. Your breath fogs the air, drifting sideways in the wind. You smell dirt rich, alive, faintly sweet beneath the cold. There, your stick hits something solid, not stone. You feel the difference instantly through vibration. You dig with your hands now, brushing earth aside carefully. Cold presses against your knuckles. You grit your teeth and keep going. You pull free a tuber, thick and knotted, skin dark with soil. It looks unremarkable, ugly, even. But it's heavy, dense, full of stored sunlight from a season that feels like another lifetime. You hold it for a moment, feeling its weight. This is winter food, not fragile, not flashy, just dependable. You wrap it in hide quickly to keep it from freezing harder, then move on. You don't strip the land bare. That invites mistakes. You take what's easy, what was marked earlier, what you already planned for. Nearby, someone uncovers bulbs buried deep, hands moving fast before cold steals dexterity. Another person digs up a cluster of roots cached earlier, stored intentionally under insulating layers of leaves and snow. Planning made this easier. Planning always does. You realize something quietly: cavemen don't find food in winter. They remember it. Memory replaces abundance. You gather what you can carry without strain. Overloading slows you, sweats you, steals heat. Sweat in winter is dangerous. You adjust your grip, shifting weight so it rests against your body, sharing warmth. As you return toward the shelter, wind picks up again. Snow stings your cheeks. You lower your head and angle your shoulders instinctively, presenting less surface. Notice how automatic that feels now. Your body has learned winter's grammar. Inside the shelter, the difference is immediate. Warmth wraps around you like a held breath finally released. Smoke softens the air. You exhale slowly, and feel tension drain from your jaw. The roots are placed near the fire, not too close. Frozen food cooked too fast burns outside while staying cold inside. Fire teaches patience again. You brush dirt from your hands and smell it lingering beneath smoke. Earth and fire mixing. You sit and rub your fingers together, bringing blood back slowly. Pins and needles bloom, sharp but welcome. Someone splits a tuber with a stone blade. The interior is pale, firm. It smells faintly sweet. Another is sliced thinner and laid on hot stones. Steam rises gently. The sound is soft, reassuring. You watch carefully. Roots need time. Heat breaks down fibers, converts starch, unlocks energy. Raw roots sit heavy and useless in winter bellies. Fire persuades them. You take a piece when it's ready, careful it's hot. You blow gently and bite. The texture is soft now, slightly grainy. The taste is mild, almost comforting. No excitement, no sugar rush, just fuel. You chew slowly and feel warmth spread again, layering over fat and meat already inside you. Roots don't replace fat. They protect it. They keep your body from burning precious stores too quickly. This is winter balance. Outside, daylight feels thin and brittle. Inside, the shelter hums softly. You hear someone adjusting the smoking rack again. Someone else tends the fire. Everyone moves with purpose. No wasted motion. You glance at the remaining roots. Some will be eaten soon. Some will be stored deeper in the shelter, insulated with straw and hides. Underground food brought above ground must be protected from freezing again. Knowledge stacks on knowledge. You help arrange them, layering carefully. Dry material first, then roots, then more insulation. You press gently, packing warmth around them like a nest. As you work, you notice your breathing has slowed. Your hands feel steadier. Food changes more than hunger. It changes how time feels. You sit back and stretch your legs. Muscles ache faintly, but not sharply. That's good. Pain warns. Ache reminds. The dog noses at a discarded peel and crunches it experimentally, then looks up at you, unimpressed. You smile faintly. Not all food is equal. You sip a bit of warm broth left from earlier. It tastes deeper now, infused with herbs and thyme. Liquid warmth slides down easily, settling between layers of solid food. You realize roots are quiet heroes of winter survival. They don't inspire stories. They don't thrill. But they show up when everything else disappears. They teach humility. They reward patience. You lean back against the stone wall, careful to insulate yourself. You feel heat pooling around your core again. Outside, wind rattles snow against rock. Inside, roots steam gently. Smoke drifts upward, and life continues. You close your eyes for a moment and picture the land beneath the snow roots, sleeping, waiting, holding energy in darkness. You think about how much of survival depends on trusting what you can't see. When you open your eyes again, someone hands you another piece, warm and steady. You accept it, chew slowly, and let winter do its worst outside. You've learned how to answer it. Seeds don't announce themselves. They don't smell strong. They don't steam when heated. They don't drip fat into firelight. But you know they're here, tucked away in small bundles, hidden in cracks, wrapped in hides and plant fibers like quiet promises. Seeds are winter's test of patience. You kneel near one of the storage spots and loosen the binding slowly. Fingers move carefully. Too much haste spills precious things. The bundle opens to reveal a modest collection nuts. Dried seeds. Kernels gathered months ago when the land was generous and the air still soft. They look small, almost disappointing. But you understand their power now. You pick one up between your fingers and feel its weight. Dense, oily, compact. This tiny thing holds more energy than a mouthful of lean meat. Seeds don't fill the belly quickly. They fuel the body efficiently. This is why cavemen don't eat them all at once. You sort them instinctively. Larger nuts here, smaller seeds there. Broken ones set aside to be eaten sooner. Whole ones saved. Nothing random. Nothing indulgent. Someone nearby cracks a nut open using 2 stones, careful not to crush the inside. The shell splits cleanly. The sound is crisp and satisfying. You inhale and catch the faint scent of oil released rich, nutty, warm even before fire touches it. You take a piece and chew slowly. The texture is firm, then creamy as fat releases. Flavor blooms gently, not flashy, but deeply reassuring. You feel it register in your body almost immediately, like a quiet switch flipping on. Seeds are thinking food. They sharpen focus, steady hands, calm breath. You notice it subtly, your shoulders relax, your jaw unclenches. Fat again, always fat. But seeds demand restraint. You want another. Your body asks politely. Your mind answers carefully. Too many now means none later. Winter punishes impulsive abundance more harshly than hunger. You place the remaining seeds back into their wrapping and retie it snugly. Hands remember this motion from years of repetition. Knot, tuck, press, done. You hear snow shifting outside, a low slide against stone. Wind hums faintly through the entrance. Inside, the shelter remains steady. Fire glows low. Smoke drifts upward. Someone adds a handful of crushed seeds to a pot of broth. The liquid thickens slightly, surface shimmering. Seeds don't just feed, they fortify. They add calories without bulk, richness without waste. You sip and notice the difference immediately. The broth feels heavier, more sustaining. It lingers longer in your stomach, spreading warmth gradually. This is food designed for waiting. You glance toward the entrance and think about time. Winter stretches days thin and nights long. Seeds make time bearable. They let you think beyond the next hour, beyond the next meal. You remember gathering them long days under sun, hands stained with sap, shells cracked by teeth and stone. It felt endless then, tedious. Now, every seed feels like foresight made tangible. You watch children nearby observe the process. They aren't given many seeds, not yet. Their bodies burn energy quickly. Seeds are saved for those who must stay sharp hunters, elders, anyone making decisions that ripple outward. Allocation isn't cruelty here, and it's care. You take another small bite, savoring it. You let it sit on your tongue for a moment before chewing, allowing oils to coat your mouth. This slows eating, increases satisfaction. reduces craving. You didn't invent mindful eating. Winter did. You notice the sound of cracking shells filling the shelter softly, rhythmic, meditative. Each crack releases possibility. Each intact kernel preserved feels like a small victory. Someone grinds seeds between stones, creating a coarse paste. Fat seeps out, darkening the surface. This paste will be mixed with dried meat, rolled into dense pellets. Travel food, emergency food, food that doesn't spoil easily. You help shape one, hands pressing gently. It holds together surprisingly well, compact, efficient. You imagine carrying it in a pouch, warmth from your body keeping it pliable. Seeds transform other foods. They bind, they extend, they make little into enough. You lean back slightly and stretch your legs, careful not to disturb the fire. You feel warmth still circulating inside you, layered now fat, broth, roots, seeds. Each burns differently. Together, they create balance. Outside, the light shifts. Clouds thicken. Snow begins again, soft and persistent. You listen to it, hush the world. Inside, seeds whisper patience. You think about modern impatience eating everything at once, chasing fullness instead of fuel. You smile faintly. Here. Fullness is suspicious. Full bellies make slow minds. Slow minds make mistakes. You prefer steady. You retie the seed bundle one last time and tuck it deeper into its storage place, surrounded by insulating material. Safe, dry, hidden. You press it once, reassuring yourself it's real. You wipe your hands on your fur and notice how the scent of seeds lingers, faint, nutty, grounding. It mixes with smoke and hide, adding another layer to the shelter's smell. Home smells like preparation. You sit quietly for a while, just listening. Fire murmurs. Wind tests stone. Someone hums low again, barely audible. The dog shifts and resettles, tail thumping once. You feel calm, alert, fed, but not heavy. Seeds have done their work. They've taught you restraint. They've taught you trust in small things. They've reminded you that survival often comes down to what you don't eat yet. You close your eyes briefly and imagine weeks from now, when snow piles high and hunting fails and daylight barely visits. You imagine opening this bundle again, hands steady, breath calm. That image alone feels nourishing. You open your eyes and let the present settle around you. Firelight flickers softly. The shelter holds. Winter waits outside. And you wait better now. Berries are ghosts now. You remember them more than you see them bursts of color once loud against green leaves, fingers stained purple and red, sweetness sharp enough to make your mouth ache. Winter has erased most evidence, leaving only memory and what you were careful enough to save. You move toward a small bundle tucked high and dry near the back of the shelter. It's wrapped tightly, layered in leaves and hide, protected from moisture and curious mouths. This isn't everyday food. This is something quieter, something saved for moments when the cold presses harder than usual. You loosen the wrapping slowly. Inside, shriveled berries rest in a small pile, dark and wrinkled, nothing like their former selves. But when you bring them closer, you smell it concentrated sweetness, faint and deep, like summer folded in on itself. You pick one up between your fingers. It's light, almost fragile. You hesitate for a breath before placing it on your tongue. The taste surprises you. Not bright, not juicy, but rich. Sweetness compressed, layered with smoke and time. Your mouth waters immediately, and for a moment, just a moment, you're somewhere else. Sun on your shoulders, leaves buzzing with insects, laughter carried on warm air. Memory is nourishment too. You chew slowly, letting the flavor spread. The sugar hits your system gently, lifting your mood without jolting it. Berries aren't fuel the way fat is. They're morale. They remind your brain that warmth exists somewhere, sometime. You notice your shoulders drop slightly. Your breath deepens. Sweetness changes how you feel winter. Someone nearby crushes a few berries into a paste, mixing them with rendered fat. The result is dark, glossy, aromatic. This will be used sparingly added to broth, smeared on dried meat, given to children when spirits sink. Sweetness makes hard food easier to accept. You watch carefully as portions are decided. Only a few berries today, enough to remind, not enough to waste. You help rewrap the bundle, fingers moving with reverence now. This isn't just food. This is psychological survival. Cavemen may not use that phrase, but they understand its truth. You sit near the fire and let the warmth rise. Smoke drifts lazily, catching faint berry notes as the paste warms slightly. The scent is unexpected and comforting. Sweet smoke, a contradiction that somehow works. You take a sip of warm liquid infused with a hint of berry. The taste is subtle, but it lingers, coating your mouth. Your mind feels lighter, not distracted, buoyed. Outside, the sky dulls again. Snow continues its quiet work. Inside, the shelter feels softer somehow, as if sweetness has rounded the edges of stone and bone. You think about why berries matter so much in winter. They don't keep you alive on their own. They don't warm you long term. But they remind you why staying alive matters. They bring color back into a monochrome world. They anchor hope. You glance at the children again. One is given a tiny portion, eyes widening at the taste. The smile that follows is quick but bright. That smile will carry them through hours of cold better than calories alone. You feel a quiet satisfaction watching this. Survival isn't just about bodies, it's about minds. You reach out and touch the tapestry-like wall covering made of layered hides and fibers. Smoke softened, warm, textured. You let your fingers trace its surface slowly, grounding yourself. Sweetness lingers in your mouth as warmth pools around your hands. You breathe in deeply and notice the blend of smells now: smoke, fat, hide, earth, and beneath it all, a whisper of berry. It feels like balance restored. You sit back and close your eyes for a moment. Not to sleep, just to feel. The fire crackles softly. Wind hums low. Someone shifts nearby, boots scraping gently against stone. When you open your eyes again, the world feels steadier, less sharp. Winter hasn't softened, but you have adapted to it again. You think about modern cravings for sugar, the way sweetness pulls at people relentlessly. Here, sweetness is rare, respected, rationed. That makes it powerful rather than controlling. You take another small bite, savoring it fully. You don't rush. You don't reach for more. You let satisfaction settle where it wants to. The berry bundle is sealed again and returned to its hiding place. Safe. Waiting. You stretch your legs and adjust your position, angling your body toward the fire just enough to stay warm without overheating. Micro adjustments, always. Survival lives in details. You feel calm now, fed in a way that goes beyond hunger, balanced. Berries have done their work. They've reminded you of color, of warmth, of patience rewarded. They've shown you that winter isn't only endured, it's negotiated, moment by moment, with memory and care. You lean back against the stone, letting sweetness fade slowly, leaving contentment behind. Outside, snow continues. Inside, life holds. And you hold too. Water doesn't disappear in winter. It hides. You feel it before you see it. A presence beneath ice and snow, moving slowly, patiently. Rivers narrow, lakes seal over. But life continues underneath, steady and cold and very much alive. Fish don't fear winter the way land creatures do. They adapt to it. And so do you. You step carefully toward the frozen water's edge, boots crunching softly against packed snow. The air feels sharper here, cleaner, almost metallic. You inhale and feel it sting your lungs, then settle. Cold water shapes cold air. The ice looks solid, but you don't trust it blindly. You tap it gently with a tool, listening. A deep, dull sound answers back. Thick enough, safe enough. Winter never promises more than that. Someone kneels and begins clearing snow from a small section of ice. Movements are slow, controlled. Sweeping too hard sends vibrations through the water below. Fish feel that. Fish remember it. You crouch nearby and watch, breath fogging the air. The exposed ice gleams faintly, blue-gray and ancient. Beneath it, darkness moves. Not emptiness movement. A hole is started carefully, stone chisel biting into ice with patient taps. Each strike sends a sharp sound ringing across the frozen surface, echoing faintly. You wince slightly. Noise matters here, but there's no choice. Access requires disturbance. The hole opens at last, dark water staring back up at you. Steam rises immediately, ghost-like. You feel the temperature difference on your face, warmer than the air, alive. You peer down and let your eyes adjust. At first, nothing. Then motion. A pale shape gliding past. Slow and deliberate. Fish conserve energy in winter too. They don't rush. A line is prepared simple, strong, made from twisted fibers and sinew, a hook carved from bone, no shine, no excess, just enough. Bait is added sparingly. Fat again. Fish recognize it instinctively. You lower the line into the hole slowly, letting it slip through your fingers. Cold bites at your skin. You grit your teeth and keep control. Waiting begins. This is the hardest part for many people. Winter fishing isn't active. It's listening, feeling, letting time stretch without fidgeting. You settle into stillness, pulling your fur tighter, angling your body to shield the hole from wind. You notice how quiet the world feels here. Snow absorbs sound, Ice muffles it. Even your breath feels loud. You slow it consciously. In through your nose, out through your mouth. Fog drifts downward, then vanishes. The line trembles. Not sharply, not dramatically, just a subtle change in tension. You freeze completely. Muscles lock. Breath held. Another tremble. Slightly stronger. Now, you pull smoothly, steadily. No jerking, no panic. The line resists briefly, then gives. A fish breaks the surface, water splashing softly against ice. You lift it quickly, decisively, ending the struggle fast. Energy conserved. Respect maintained. The fish lies still now, its body sleek and cold, scales catching light faintly. You touch it and feel the dense muscle beneath. Winter fish are leaner, but still valuable. Protein, fat, minerals. You smile faintly, a quiet satisfaction settling in your chest. This isn't triumph, it's relief. The fish is wrapped immediately, protected from freezing solid. Later, it will be cooked gently, smoked, dried. Fish spoil quickly if mishandled. Winter slows decay, but doesn't stop it. You repeat the process, patient and calm. Sometimes nothing comes, sometimes a small one you release, knowing it isn't worth the energy today. Judgment matters more than luck. As you wait, you notice the sounds beneath the ice faint, hollow clicks, distant movement. Water has its own winter language. You listen without needing to understand it fully. Another bite, another fish, smaller this time. You keep it. Balance. Your hands ache with cold now, fingers stiffening. You rub them together quickly, then tuck them beneath your arms, using your body's heat. Micro actions. Constant awareness. When enough fish are caught, not many, just enough you stop. Overfishing is desperation. Desperation backfires. You return toward the shelter. Load lighter than you might expect, but sufficient. Snow crunches beneath your steps. Wind brushes your face. You feel tired, but not drained. Inside, warmth greets you immediately. Firelight flickers. Smoke curls. You exhale deeply and feel your shoulders drop. The fish are prepared carefully. Scales scraped. Guts removed cleanly. Nothing wasted. Some parts will go into broth. Others dried. The smell is clean. Faintly metallic. Different from meat, but no less comforting. Fish is placed near the fire, not directly over it. Gentle heat firms the flesh without drying it too quickly. You watch the color change subtly, surface turning opaque. You smell it fresh, nourishing. You take a small bite when it's ready. The taste is mild, clean, satisfying. It feels lighter than meat, easier on the stomach. A good counterbalance to heavy fat days. You sip broth alongside it, warmth and minerals combining. You feel strength settle in your limbs, not heavy, but responsive. You realize fish are winter's quiet gift. They don't roar. They don't charge. They wait. They reward patience and restraint. You wipe your hands and settle back onto your bedding, letting heat seep into cold bones. Outside, ice seals itself again, erasing the hole you made, hiding life beneath its surface. You feel a quiet gratitude not toward the fish alone, but toward the knowledge that led you there, toward the understanding that winter doesn't remove food, it just changes where you look. You close your eyes briefly and listen to the fire. Snow hushes the world outside. Inside, you are fed. Water has spoken, and you listened. You don't look for insects in winter. You remember where they sleep. That understanding settles into you quietly now, as you move through the shelter with a different kind of attention. Insects aren't buzzing distractions anymore. They're stored energy, paused mid-cycle, waiting for warmth or disturbance to wake them. Winter doesn't erase them. It hides them. You crouch near a fallen log dragged inside weeks ago, bark intact, interior dry. It rests near the fire, not close enough to burn, but close enough to stay above freezing. Someone planned this. Someone always does. You press your palm against the wood and feel faint warmth. Not much, just enough. Using a flat stone, you pry the bark back slowly. The sound is soft, fibrous. Inside, the wood is pale and fragrant, and their movement, small, curled, still. Larvae. You pause for a breath. Modern reflexes stir for a moment, then fade. Hunger rewires preference quickly. Your body already knows these shapes: protein, fat, minerals. Survival in small, efficient packages. You lift one gently and feel how firm it is, dense despite its size. It doesn't struggle. Winter has slowed everything down. You place it carefully into a small container, then another. You don't take many, just enough. Insects multiply quickly, but respect keeps balance. Nearby, someone cracks open a frozen ant mound, chipping away the outer layer with practiced strikes. Inside, the temperature is higher. Life hums faintly. Ants cluster, dormant but alive. A few are collected quickly. Then the mound is resealed as best as possible. This isn't destruction. It's harvesting. You notice how quiet everyone is. Insects require listening. Too much noise, too much vibration, and you waste energy for nothing. Back near the fire, insects are prepared simply, placed on a hot stone, turned gently. They darken, crisp slightly, releasing a nutty scent you didn't expect. You inhale and feel curiosity replace hesitation. You take one between your fingers. It's hot, so you blow gently, then you bite. The crunch surprises you. The taste is mild, almost pleasant earthy, faintly sweet, richer than you imagined. Your body responds immediately, warmth blooming low and steady, protein again, fat again. You chew slowly, thoughtfully. This isn't desperation food, it's practical food. You notice how little effort it takes to eat insects compared to tough meat or roots. Less chewing, less digestion. That matters when energy is precious. Someone grinds roasted insects into a coarse powder, mixing it with fat and crushed seeds. The result is dense, portable, long-lasting. You help press it into small cakes, hands warm from the fire, fingers leaving shallow impressions that smooth out as fat softens. These cakes will travel well. They won't freeze solid. They won't spoil quickly. They'll keep you moving when weather traps you far from shelter. You realize something quietly profound. Insects don't feel like survival food anymore. They feel like optimization. You sit back and wipe your hands. noticing the faint scent, lingering roasted, nutty, comforting. It blends seamlessly with smoke and hide. Another layer added to the shelter's smell. Another proof of adaptability. The dog watches you closely, head tilted. You toss it a small piece. It crunches happily, tail thumping once. No judgment. Just nutrition. Outside, snow continues its soft work. Inside, the fire hums. You feel calm, steady, fed in a way that feels surprisingly complete. You think about how many modern people would overlook this entirely, walking past fallen logs, frozen mounds, dead trees, never realizing how much energy waits there. Quiet and patient. You stretch your legs and adjust your posture, angling closer to warmth. Micro movements again, always adjusting, always listening. Insects have taught you another lesson. Food doesn't disappear in winter. It just asks different questions. And now you know how to answer them. Herbs don't fill your stomach. They change how winter feels inside you. You notice them tucked everywhere once you start looking, bundles hanging near the sleeping area, small pouches tied to belts, dried stems woven into bedding. They aren't decoration. They're quiet tools, working on parts of survival food can't reach. You reach for a bundle hanging just above where warm air gathers. It brushes your fingers softly, brittle and fragrant. When you squeeze it gently, scent blooms immediately sharp, green, slightly bitter. Your chest opens without permission. You inhale slowly. Herbs warm in a different way. Someone crushes dried leaves between their palms and tosses them onto embers. Smoke changes instantly. Softer. Sweeter. You smell something like mint. Something like rosemary. Something older than names. The air feels easier to breathe, less harsh. You sit closer and let it wash over you. Your shoulders loosen. Your jaw unclenches. Sleepiness nudges gently at the edges of your awareness. This is intentional. Winter strains the body constantly. Muscles stay tense. Joints stiffen. Thoughts sharpen too much. Herbs soften what cold hardens. You sip warm water infused with roots and leaves. The taste is subtle bitter at first, then faintly sweet. It lingers at the back of your tongue. You feel it slide down and spread warmth that feels calmer than food warmth. This isn't fuel. This is regulation. You notice how your breathing deepens almost immediately. Herbs help digestion, too. Heavy winter meals sit dense in the belly. Herbs tell your body how to process them, how to avoid wasting energy fighting its own food. A calm stomach is a warm stomach. Someone rubs crushed leaves into aching joints, mixing them with rendered fat. You try it on your hands, massaging slowly. The smell rises with heat from your skin, sharp and soothing. Your fingers feel looser, more responsive. Touch matters in winter. Herbs make touch gentler. You tuck a small sachet into your bedding, near your head. The scent will rise as you sleep, steady and faint. It keeps insects away, calms dreams, reminds your body it's safe enough to rest deeply. You lie back briefly and test it, breathing in, breathing out. The smell blends with smoke and hide, adding a clean note that cuts through heaviness. You feel your eyelids grow heavier. Herbs also mark time. Certain ones are used only at night, others only after meals. Some are saved for sickness, injury, grief. Their use creates rhythm when daylight no longer can. You watch someone prepare a small bundle specifically for sleep. Leaves chosen carefully, dried flowers crumbled gently, nothing rushed. This isn't superstition. It's pattern recognition refined by centuries of winter nights. You accept a pinch and rub it between your palms, then bring your hands to your face. Inhale, exhale. Your thoughts slow, edges blurring slightly. Worry recedes. You realize something important. Survival isn't just about staying alive. It's about staying willing to stay alive. Herbs help with that. They keep despair from settling too deeply. They keep the mind from spiraling when nights stretch too long. They help you rest, and rest is as vital as food. Outside, the wind rises again, testing the shelter. Snow taps against stone. Inside, the air feels warmer, softer, calmer. Herbs have shifted the atmosphere. You sit quietly for a while, just noticing. Fire crackles low. Smoke drifts. Someone hums again, almost inaudible. The dog sighs and curls tighter. You feel steady, present, cared for by small things. Herbs don't demand attention. They reward it. And as you prepare to sleep, you understand why cavemen never treated them as optional. In winter, they're not extras. They're balance. You settle into your bedding, adjust one last layer, and let scent guide your breathing into slower, deeper rhythms. Food fed your body, fire warmed it, herbs now quiet it. And you drift gently, knowing winter feels different when you work with it, not against it. You never eat alone in winter, even when silence fills the shelter, even when words feel unnecessary. Presence matters. Bodies close together share more than warmth, they share certainty. You feel it now as you sit near the fire, knees almost touching someone else's, shoulders brushing lightly when you shift. This closeness isn't accidental. Winter punishes isolation faster than hunger. You notice how food is passed hand to hand, never tossed, never rushed. A strip of meat moves from one person to the next, each taking a measured portion. No one looks away while eating. Attention stays shared. Eating together regulates pace, appetite, emotion. You take your piece and wait until others have theirs before biting. That pause matters. It synchronizes the group, keeps greed from quietly taking root. Cavemen don't need rules for this. Hunger teaches fairness brutally. You chew slowly, aware of the sounds around you, soft tearing, gentle crunching, breath moving in and out. It feels almost ceremonial, though no one would call it that. Ritual grows wherever repetition meets meaning. You glance at the elders. They eat less now, but what they eat is chosen carefully warm broth, soft roots, marrow. Their bodies don't need as much fuel, but their presence feeds everyone else. Knowledge, memory, calm. Winter respects that. Children sit closer to the center, where warmth pools best. They receive food more frequently, smaller portions spread throughout the day. Their metabolisms burn fast. Their future matters. You feel a quiet pride being part of this structure. It isn't perfect. It isn't sentimental, but it works. Outside, wind moans faintly. Snow presses against stone. Inside, the fire anchors everyone to the same point. Food radiates outward from it like heat. Someone laughs softly at something small, a dropped piece, a shared look. The sound is brief but powerful. Laughter loosens tension, lowers stress, conserves energy in ways food alone can't. You notice how your body responds. Shoulders relax, breath deepens. Community changes physiology. You don't just feel safer, you are safer. A pot of broth is passed again, this time enriched with seeds and fat. You sip and feel warmth settle into your chest. Liquid shared this way feels different, less like consumption, more like connection. You remember times when food was scarce and arguments flared. Those memories are cautionary tales, not trauma. They guide behavior now. Sharing isn't moral here, it's practical. You lean slightly toward the fire and feel heat brush your cheek. Someone shifts closer, blocking a draft without thinking. Micro actions. Again, always supporting, always adjusting. The dog moves from person to person, resting briefly against each, collecting warmth and offering it back. Even animals participate in this web. You finish eating and don't immediately move away. No one does. Remaining close after meals aids digestion, conserves heat, maintains cohesion. Winter meals don't end abruptly. They dissolve slowly into rest. You feel heavy in a good way, grounded, fed in body and mind. You realize something quietly. Food shared tastes better not because of flavor, but because of meaning. You stretch your legs carefully and settle back into the group's warmth. Firelight flickers across faces, hides, stone. Shadows overlap, merge, separate. No single outline dominates. Outside, winter waits. Inside, you are not alone. And that, more than any single food, keeps you alive. Food becomes time in winter. Not hours or days, the kind of time that steadies your mind, that tells your body when to soften and when to stay alert. You feel it now as the shelter settles into its evening rhythm. The fire lowered just enough to glow without wasting fuel. The air thick with familiar scents layered carefully throughout the day. Meals are no longer events, they're anchors. You notice how everything slows after eating. Movements soften, voices lower, even thoughts stretch out. Less sharp, less demanding. This isn't laziness, it's conservation. Winter teaches you when to act and when to rest, and food marks that boundary. Someone adds a final handful of herbs to the embers, not for cooking, but for signaling. The scent shifts gently, telling everyone it's time to transition. Day work ends, night safety begins. You adjust your bedding with practiced care, hide, fur, dry grass, each layer placed deliberately, not out of comfort seeking but out of wisdom. Too many layers trap sweat, too few invite cold. You've learned the balance now, how to create a pocket of warmth that breathes with you. You sit for a moment before lying down, hands wrapped around a warm stone taken from the fire's edge. Heat seeps slowly into your palms, then up your arms. You rotate the stone once, then set it near your core beneath the bedding. This warmth will last long into the night. Food did this. Food made rest possible. You lie back and listen. The shelter sounds different at night. Fire whispers instead of crackles. Wind presses, then recedes. Snow slides softly, reshaping the outside world while you stay still. Someone nearby breathes deeply, already asleep. Another shifts, then settles again. You notice your own breath now, slower, deeper. Food has quieted urgency. Fat and broth and roots have told your nervous system that you are safe enough to let go. Dreams in winter are shaped by ritual. Before sleep, you take a final small sip of warm liquid, mostly water, faintly infused with herbs and marrow residue. Not enough to stimulate digestion, just enough to reassure. Warmth slides down and settles gently, like a closing door. You tuck your hands beneath your arms, conserving heat. Your body curls slightly inward, a shape echoed by everyone around you. No one sprawls, no one wastes space. Even sleep is efficient. You think about how cavemen don't separate survival from meaning. Eating, sleeping, warming. Sharing, these are all the same act, just expressed differently. Winter compresses life until essentials touch. You feel oddly grateful for that compression. Outside, predators move through darkness, hungry and searching. Inside, the shelter holds steady, insulated not just by stone and hide, but by routine. Routine is winter's strongest defense. You drift toward sleep slowly, aware but unburdened. Thoughts come and go without catching. Images of food preparation replay quietly. Bones cracking, roots steaming, seeds sorted, fish lifted from dark water. These memories reassure rather than stimulate. Your body knows what tomorrow requires because today was structured. You feel the warmth of the dog press gently against your legs as it resettles. Shared heat again. Shared rhythm. You barely register it consciously, but your muscles relax further. Food rituals do something subtle but powerful. They return agency. Winter can't be controlled, but it can be responded to. Every meal says, "We anticipated this." Every preserved strip says, "We remembered." Every shared bowl says, "We're still here together." Your eyelids grow heavy now. Firelight flickers behind them, orange shadows drifting slowly. The scent of herbs rises faintly from your bedding, calming and familiar. You take one last slow breath in through your nose, then out through your mouth. The night deepens, but it doesn't feel threatening. It feels contained. Food has done more than feed you today. It has shaped the hours. It has taught your body when to hold on and when to let go. And as sleep takes you gently, wrapped in warmth, routine, and shared survival, you understand something ancient and reassuring. Winter is endured one ritual at a time. You learn to recognize starvation long before it arrives. Not the dramatic kind. Not sudden collapse or visible desperation. Winter starvation is quiet. It creeps in sideways, disguised as fatigue, irritability, poor judgment. Cavemen survive not by ignoring hunger, but by reading it accurately. You notice the signs now, the way the group watches itself. Someone moving too quickly, burning heat without realizing. Someone lingering too long near the fire, unwilling to venture out. Someone eating fast instead of slow. These are not moral failures. They are signals. You sit near the fire and pay attention to your own body. Hunger has changed shape over the weeks. It's no longer sharp. It's informational. It asks questions rather than making demands. Are you warm enough? Are you thinking clearly? Are your hands steady? You flex your fingers slowly. They respond without stiffness. Good. You take a breath and notice how easily it comes. No tightness in your chest. Good. You feel your belly not full, not empty, but stable. That's the goal. Cavemen don't aim for fullness in winter. Fullness is dangerous. It signals wasted energy, poor planning, imbalance. Instead, they aim for function. You watch someone decline an extra portion quietly, not out of generosity, out of awareness. Their body doesn't need it today. Someone else accepts a bit more thin, pale, moving slower than usual. No comments are made. No explanations needed. Food adjusts to bodies, not the other way around. You think about protein starvation, the danger of eating too lean for too long. Hunters have learned this through hard winters. Meat without fat drains you. It tricks hunger instead of satisfying it. That's why marrow, rendered fat, seeds, and broth are never optional. They're protective. You sip warm broth and feel how it lands easy, grounding. Liquid food is diagnostic. If it soothes, you're fine. If it feels irritating or hollow, something's off. Someone adds extra fat to a pot today, not because supply is high, but because cold has sharpened overnight. Weather shifts change needs. Rigidity kills faster than hunger. You glance toward the entrance. Snow has piled higher than yesterday. Travel will cost more energy now. The group adjusts without discussion. Less movement, more rest. Food becomes denser, not larger. This is how cavemen avoid the hunger trap. They adapt early. You stretch slowly and notice how your muscles respond. A faint ache, but nothing sharp. You feel capable, not fragile. That's the margin winter allows, and it's narrow. Children are watched most closely, not hovered over, but observed. Appetite, mood, sleep. A child who stops eating berries or seeds needs attention. Sugar and fat support developing brains. Missing that signal can cost the future. Elders are watched differently. Slower movement, colder hands. They receive warmth and easy-to-digest food. Not because they can't work, but because preserving knowledge preserves survival. You realize starvation isn't just lack of food. It's lack of appropriate food. You think about days when hunting failed and tempers flared. Those memories aren't shameful. They're instructive. Hunger makes people short-sighted. That's why winter systems remove choice as much as possible. Meals repeat. Portions stabilize. Decisions shrink. Choice burns calories too. You take another sip and feel steadiness return. You're not euphoric. You're not sluggish. You're alert, calm, responsive. This is winter health. You notice how often people touch the fire, stones, each other. Warmth is shared constantly, quietly correcting small deficits before they become dangerous. No one waits until they're shivering violently. By then, it's late. You adjust your seating slightly, angling closer to heat. Micro-action, correction made. Outside, wind scrapes snow against rock. Inside, nothing changes abruptly. That's the point. You reflect on how modern hunger often confuses desire with need. Here, hunger is stripped of noise. It's honest. It tells you exactly what's missing if you listen without panic. You close your eyes briefly and scan your body. Warm core, clear head, steady breath. That internal check replaces scales, charts, numbers. Winter doesn't need metrics. It needs awareness. You open your eyes again and see the group moving smoothly through the day. No urgency, no waste. Everyone eats enough. No one eats too much. Starvation is avoided not by abundance, but by sensitivity. You settle back, feeling confidence grow, not bravado, but trust. Trust in systems, in shared attention, in the quiet intelligence of survival refined over generations. Winter still presses. Food is still finite, but starvation has been kept outside the shelter not by force, but by understanding. You breathe out slowly and let that understanding sink in. You're not just surviving winter. You're reading it correctly. You begin to notice how food reveals priorities. Not spoken ones, not debated ones, the kind that surface quietly, through who eats what, when, and how often. Winter strips decision-making down to its bones, and what remains is unmistakable. Children eat first, not always, not dramatically, but consistently. Smaller portions, more frequently. Warm food, soft food, fat mixed with sweetness when possible. You see it happen without ceremony, without announcement. A hand passes a bowl. A piece is set aside. No one questions it. This isn't sentiment, it's mathematics. Children burn energy faster. They lose heat more quickly. Their brains are still wiring themselves together. Winter doesn't care about fairness. It cares about outcomes. And the future lives in smaller bodies. You watch a child wrap their hands around a warm vessel, steam fogging their face. They sip carefully, eyes half-lidded, shoulders relaxing. That warmth will last longer than the calories alone. It will carry them through the night. Elders eat differently. They don't need large portions. Their bodies move slower now, more efficiently. But what they eat is chosen with precision broth enriched with marrow, softened roots, fat rendered smooth. Easy digestion matters. So does warmth. You notice how elders sit closest to the fire without apology. No one challenges this. Proximity isn't privilege, it's preservation. Knowledge keeps better when bodies stay warm. You sit somewhere between these worlds, strong enough to hunt, old enough to notice patterns. You eat what sustains function, not growth or memory alone. Dense food, reliable food, enough to think clearly and move steadily. Winter organizes people by need, not status. You think about how arguments rarely erupt over food here. Tension exists, of course, but allocation is understood. When food is scarce, clarity replaces debate. Confusion wastes energy. Winter doesn't allow it. You see someone quietly slipping an extra piece of fat toward a child whose hands have been cold all morning. The gesture is subtle. No praise, no announcement, just correction. Someone else notices an elder growing quieter than usual and offers warm liquid without a word. The elder accepts with a nod. No shame, no pride, just balance restored. This is how winter survives itself through constant, compassionate adjustment. You realize something important. Food is communication. It says I see you. It says I notice what you need. It says we're still thinking beyond today. You take a bite and chew slowly, tasting smoke, fat, time. You don't rush. Eating quickly signals fear. Eating slowly signals trust in the system. You glance at the dog again. Even it is fed according to role, enough to stay alert, enough to stay warm, not enough to become sluggish. Everything has purpose. Outside, snow piles higher. Travel becomes more dangerous. Hunting less frequent. That shifts priorities again. Children stay inside more. Elders speak more. Stories surface not for entertainment, but for orientation. Food supports this shift. Lighter meals during long sitting, warm drinks, herbs that keep minds calm and joints loose. You notice how no one hoards individually. Food belongs to the group. Hoarding fractures trust, and trust is warmer than any fur. You feel a quiet pride being part of this web. It's imperfect, fragile, but it adapts. You think about modern ideas of merit, productivity, equality. Winter doesn't recognize them. It recognizes vulnerability, potential, and memory. Children carry potential, elders carry memory, adults carry labor. Food flows accordingly. You finish your portion and feel satisfied, not full, but aligned. Your body feels used appropriately. Your mind feels steady. You lean back and rest your hands on your thighs, palms open, absorbing heat radiating from the fire. You notice how often people touch the ground, the walls, each other. Touch reassures the nervous system. It confirms reality. Food does the same. You listen as an elder begins to speak softly, voice rough but steady. A story about a winter long ago when food ran thinner than this. Lessons are woven in without instruction. You listen, fueled enough to pay attention. Children lean in, adults nod, the fire pops softly. You realize that feeding elders feeds everyone. Knowledge moves when mouths are free from hunger. Feeding children feeds everyone. Hope stays tangible. Winter survival is never just physical. It's generational. You adjust your position slightly and feel warmth pool again. Another micro correction. Another small success. You think about how, someday, you will sit closer to the fire. How your portions will change. How someone else will notice your hands and offer warmth without asking. The thought doesn't frighten you. It comforts you. Food has already taught you how this works. You breathe in slowly, smelling smoke, herbs, hide, broth. You breathe out and feel the shelter hold. Winter presses, food answers, and the group endures not because everyone is equal, but because everyone is needed. Animals are never just animals in winter. You notice this now in the way eyes track movement outside the shelter, in the way ears tilt toward distant sounds, in how bodies respond before thought catches up. Animals are information first, warmth second, food last if it comes to that. You sit near the entrance and listen. Somewhere beyond the snow, something moves, not wind, not falling ice. A deliberate rhythm pause, step, pause. Your muscles tense slightly, then relax. You recognize it. Deer, slow, careful, conserving energy just like you. Animals teach you winter long before you hunt them. You watch birds circle briefly overhead, then vanish toward trees. Their absence tells you more than their presence ever did. No birds means pressure. Pressure means predators nearby. You file the information away without comment. Inside the shelter, the dog lifts its head, ears pricked. It doesn't bark. It doesn't growl. It listens. You place a hand on its shoulder and feel the muscle shift beneath fur. Warm, alert, shared vigilance. Animals are part of the system now. They lead you to food, sometimes tracks pointing toward water, disturbed snow revealing buried roots, gnawed bark signaling edible trees. Other times, they are the food, but never impulsively. Winter punishes reckless hunting more harshly than failed hunting. You remember earlier seasons when animals scattered easily, fat and careless. Winter changes them too. They grow cautious, thin, efficient. Hunting them now requires reading patterns, not chasing bodies. You glance toward a patch of snow near the tree line where tracks crisscross. Rabbit, fox, something heavier passed through earlier. Maybe boar, maybe wolf. You note it without excitement. Knowledge before desire. Animals also shape warmth. The dog presses closer at night, curling tightly, breath warm against your leg. It doesn't understand the concept of insulation, but it practices it perfectly. You feel heat pool where its body touches yours. Shared warmth extends sleep. Sleep extends survival. Furs hanging on the wall. Deer. Fox. Something thicker aren't trophies. They're past relationships. Animals that once moved, breathed, watched the same winter sky you do now. Their hides block wind. Their fur traps air. Their bodies still protect you. You touch one absent-mindedly, fingers sinking into softened fur. It smells faintly of smoke and animal oil. Familiar, comforting. You imagine how long it took to cure it properly. How many mistakes were made before learning how to keep hides supple instead of brittle. Animals taught that lesson too. You think about birds again, how their feathers trap warmth better than almost anything. You've stuffed feathers into cracks, layered them beneath bedding, tucked them into clothing, light as nothing, warm as fire. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is isolated. You sit quietly and watch the dog's chest rise and fall. Its presence is constant reassurance. It alerts before danger arrives. It calms when nothing is wrong. It eats scraps that would otherwise rot. It offers warmth freely. Animals aren't servants here. They're collaborators. Outside, a howl rises faintly, distant enough not to alarm, close enough to remind you of boundaries. Wolves, intelligent, efficient, hungry. You feel no fear, only respect. They survive winter the way you do, through structure, cooperation, patience. You realize something quietly unsettling and comforting. You are not above animals in winter. You are alongside them. Different tools, same rules. You think about how animals signal weather shifts, restlessness before storms, silence before deep cold, sudden movement when pressure changes. You watch for these signs more than you watch the sky. Animals feel weather before it arrives. Someone gestures toward the fire and tosses a small bone to the dog. It crunches contentedly, tail thumping once. That sound feels like confirmation. All is well. For now. You lean back and listen again. Snow hushes sound. Ice groans faintly in the distance. Wind tests branches. Animals respond. You respond to them responding. This loop keeps you alive. You feel oddly grateful for animal presence, even when it means competition. A winter without animals would be a dead winter. Silent, empty, unforgiving. You breathe in slowly, smelling fur, smoke, cold air slipping in through cracks. You feel grounded, alert, integrated. Animals aren't background characters here. They're teachers, warnings, warmth, and sometimes sacrifice. They shape your decisions constantly, even when you don't notice consciously. As night deepens, you pull your fur tighter and feel its weight settle around you. You remember the animal that once wore it, not with guilt, with acknowledgement. Winter survival isn't domination, it's participation. You close your eyes briefly and listen to the shelter-breathe humans, animals, fire, all sharing the same fragile warmth against a vast, indifferent cold. And somehow, together, it's enough. Spring lives in your imagination long before it arrives. You don't talk about it much. Saying it out loud feels risky, like tempting something fragile. But you feel it in the way you measure food, in the way you pace effort, in the way your mind drifts when the fire burns low and the shelter grows quiet. You sit close to the embers now, watching them pulse softly beneath a thin veil of ash. Outside, winter still owns the land. Snow stretches unbroken. Trees stand bare and patient. Nothing suggests change. And yet, you picture green without trying to. The thought slips in gently, uninvited but welcome. Not lush green, nothing dramatic. Just the idea of it. Damp soil, soft shoots, movement without crunch. Spring begins as restraint. You notice how carefully food is handled now. Portions slightly smaller, meals slightly denser, hunting trips shorter, more selective. No one panics. No one tightens their grip unnecessarily. This is the stretch that tests patience more than strength. The hardest part of winter is not the cold. It's waiting without wasting. You feel it in your own body. Hunger returns faster now. Not because food is gone, but because daylight lingers just a little longer. Your metabolism senses the shift before your mind does. Energy stirs. Muscles feel restless. You respond by slowing down. That restraint feels counterintuitive, but you trust it. Moving too much now burns fat meant for the final weeks. Dreaming of spring doesn't mean rushing toward it. It means preparing to meet it intact. You sip warm broth and feel it anchor you again. Liquid warmth reminds your body that the present is still here, still real. Fantasy must never override function. Someone nearby sharpens a tool quietly. Not for hunting today, just maintenance. The sound is soft, repetitive. Preparation without urgency. The blade glints briefly in firelight, then disappears again. You imagine using it in spring, slicing fresh roots easily, cutting young greens without resistance. The image feels distant but precise. That precision matters. Vague hope is dangerous. Specific anticipation is useful. You watch children play quietly with scraps of hide, mimicking tasks they've seen all winter. Their movements are clumsy but eager. They don't remember summer clearly anymore, but their bodies remember growth. They fidget, they stretch, they test limits. Spring will arrive for them first. You feel a quiet responsibility settle in your chest. Keeping them fed now means they'll meet that season strong, curious, alive. Elders sit closer to the fire again today. Their voices carry more often now, sharing stories of other winters that ended eventually. Not dramatic endings, just gradual softening, snow thinning, water returning to sound. You listen closely. Not because you doubt, but because it helps your mind hold the line. Hope without grounding becomes impatience. Impatience becomes mistakes. You adjust your bedding slightly, sealing in warmth. Even as you dream forward, you tend the present. That balance feels important. Outside, a bird calls once, just one note, brief, almost imagined. You freeze, listening. Nothing follows. But you smile faintly. That sound will return. Food is measured again. Seeds are counted. Fat reserves checked. Smoked meat inspected for mold. Rotated for airflow. Everything looks enough. Not abundant. Enough. Enough is the most powerful word in winter. You realize spring isn't a rescue. It's a reward for not giving up too early. You take a bite of dried meat and chew slowly, tasting smoke and patience. This strip represents not hunger, but endurance. You swallow and feel warmth settle where it needs to. You lean back and let your eyes rest on the shelter ceiling, blackened with years of smoke. Those layers mark survival, just like rings in a tree. Each winter survived adds another thin coat of knowledge. You imagine adding yours. Outside, the wind eases slightly. Not warmth, just less hostility. Snow doesn't fall as thickly tonight. Small changes. Easy to miss. Impossible to fake. You feel your breath slow. The fire crackles softly, steady and dependable. Someone hums again, almost unconsciously. The sound blends with everything else, barely noticeable, but deeply reassuring. You think about how spring food will taste. Fresh greens, crisp roots, water that runs instead of waits. The thought makes your mouth water, but not urgently, not desperately. Anticipation is quieter now. You close your eyes for a moment and imagine standing in thawing mud, boots sinking slightly, the air smelling alive instead of clean. You imagine the first time you won't need to huddle close to fire to stay warm. You don't rush the image. You let it fade naturally. When you open your eyes, winter is still here. And that's okay, because you're ready to finish it. You wake before the fire, not because it's cold, not because you're hungry, but because something inside you has shifted. A quiet awareness, steady and calm, the kind that comes after long endurance. You lie still for a moment, listening to the shelter breathe around you. Nothing is urgent, nothing is wrong. That alone feels like an achievement. You stretch slowly beneath layers of fur and hide, careful not to break the pocket of warmth you've built through the night. Your joints respond without protest. Your fingers flex easily. Your breath comes deep and unlabored. You are still here. Outside, winter remains firm, but it no longer feels endless. Snow still covers the land. Ice still seals water. Wind still tests stone. Yet none of it feels personal anymore. You've learned its patterns. You've answered its demands. You sit up and glance around the shelter. Everything is in its place. Food stores intact. Smoke racks steady. Herbs hanging where warm air rises. Bones waiting for another boil. Seeds tucked safely away. This is what survival looks like, not triumph, not domination, but continuity. You think back through everything you've eaten this winter. Meat that carried time forward, fat that protected your thinking, bones that gave again and again, roots pulled from frozen ground, seeds that taught restraint. berries that carried memory, fish lifted patiently from dark water, insects that proved efficiency beats preference, herbs that softened the edges of cold. None of these alone would have been enough. Together, they formed a system. You realize now that cavemen didn't survive winter because they were stronger or braver than you. They survived because they understood something modern life often forgets. Survival is layered. Food isn't just calories. It's timing. It's texture. It's psychology. It's social structure. You rise and add a small piece of fuel to the fire, watching flames wake gently. You don't build it high. You don't need to. Stones already hold warmth. The shelter already knows how to stay alive. You wrap your hands around a warm vessel and sip slowly. The taste is familiar now. Broth, smoke, herbs, time. It grounds you immediately. You notice how your body reacts with trust instead of urgency. That's the difference winter makes. You glance toward the entrance and see pale light pushing against snow. Day is coming. Not spring yet, but movement. Another step closer. You feel no need to rush outside. No need to prove anything. Food has done its work. You can wait properly now. You think about how these ancient strategies still live inside you, how your body responds to warmth, fat, rhythm, shared meals, how your nervous system settles when food is predictable and meaningful. None of that is obsolete. You sit near the fire and simply exist for a while, listening to embers murmur, to someone breathing nearby, to the faint sounds of a world still turning despite cold. You understand something clearly now. You didn't survive winter by fighting it. You survived by cooperating with reality. That knowledge feels deeper than history. It feels biological. You finish your drink and place the vessel back carefully. You adjust your layers one last time. You notice warmth pooling exactly where you want it. And for the first time since this journey began, you feel no tension at all. You've learned what cavemen actually ate to survive winter. But more importantly, you've learned why it worked. Now, let everything slow. Let the images fade gently, like embers settling beneath ash. Feel the surface beneath you soft, steady, supporting your weight. Notice your breathing again, without changing it, just noticing. You don't need to plan anymore. You don't need to prepare. You don't need to stay alert. Winter can wait. Imagine warmth lingering in your hands, your chest, your core. Imagine the quiet confidence of knowing you are fed, safe, and finished with effort for now. Thoughts drift. Muscles soften. Time stretches without demand. If your mind wanders, let it wander gently, like smoke curling upward and disappearing on its own. There is nothing else to do tonight, nothing to solve, nothing to survive. Just rest. Sweet dreams.